Today I'm going to show you how to sew a Christmas stocking. There is a sewing guide with all of the steps, the pattern, the measurements, everything that you need to make these Christmas stockings. I'll be showing you 3 ways how to finish the stocking with an original cuff, a scalloped cuff, a ruffled edge, and optional quilting. You can make each one unique to your family, and I love that Christmas stockings are something that you can create with any type of fabric that you can dream up. In this video, I will be walking you through each type of stocking so you can see the basic stocking shape, and there's quilting directions, ruffle directions, cuff, and scallop directions. So it's kind of a mix and match. Whatever you see fit that would represent your family well or a family member, because each Christmas stocking can be unique to you. First, iron your fabric and lay the stocking pattern on top. If you're quilting the fabric, use the outer line on the pattern as a guide for cutting. This will allow extra space for possible shrinking as you quilt the fabric. If you are not quilting the fabric, you can cut around the stocking shape as identified in the pattern. Continue cutting your cuff, your ruffle of choice, the hanger, 2 lining pieces, interfacing and batting if you're using it, and a back piece. You'll want to quilt your fabric first before sewing the stocking shape. So you're going to take your batting and your stocking shape, and using a water-soluble pen or chalk and a quilting ruler, draw the lines where you want to see stitching. For a diamond shape, line up the quilting ruler at a 45-degree angle and mark this line. Measure 1.5 inches and draw another line. Continue making these diagonal lines across the stocking and continue the opposite direction, making each line 1.5 inches apart. You can also do straight lines or a more freeform pattern. You can get creative here. Now attach the outer front fabric to the batting with pins or safety pins so it doesn't move around while you're sewing. Starting at a corner of the stocking, straight stitch along the lines from one starting point to the next. Lift the needle and move to the next line to continue sewing until the front stocking piece is completely quilted. Cut the ruffle shape from the pattern and fold in half hot dog style and iron. You're going to do a gather stitch at the top of this, and it's going to automatically ruffle this rectangle, and this is what you will add to the stocking and pin to the top. You can stitch right across the top and set this aside for the next step. If you are creating a stocking with the original cuff, grab your cuff pieces. Right sides facing, align the outer fabric and the lining fabric. On one of the long sides, stitch together at 1/4 inch seam allowance. Repeat this for the remaining outer and lining fabric pieces. You'll have a large rectangle for each piece. Open the fabrics and iron the seam to the lining side. Right sides together, line the cuff pieces together while they are opened. Sew the shorter edges at 1/4 inch seam allowance. Fold the cuff right side out and iron really well. Set this aside for later. Here is how you'll create a scalloped cuff. Grab your cuff pieces and the scallop shape outline. Make sure you do not cut the scallops yet. You're going to use the scallops as a guide. Right sides facing, align the outer fabric and lining fabric and pin together. On the long side, line up the scallop to the edge and trace the scallop with a water-soluble pin. Reduce your stitch length to about 1.5. Slowly stitch along the scallop shape, pivoting at the corners. Repeat this for the remaining cuff piece. Using pinking shears, which are also called zigzag shears, or a regular pair of fabric scissors, trim along the scalloped edge, leaving 1/8 of an inch of fabric. At the corners of the scallops, carefully make a notch in the fabric right before you get to the stitches. Repeat this for the other cuff. Open the cuff sides without folding open the scallops yet. Right sides facing, match the short sides to the cuff, pin and sew at 1/4 of an inch seam allowance. Fold the cuff right side out and point out the curves of the scallops. You may need to use a chopstick or pointed tool to help make the shape prominent, and working this out with an iron will really define the scallop shape. Now make the loops. Take your loop shape and fold it in half and iron. Unfold and fold 1/2 to meet the fold line you just made with the iron. Fold the other half to the fold line and iron. Keeping this folded, fold once more in half and iron. This is folding the entire rectangle in thirds. Now stitch along the long side at 1/8 of an inch and set aside. Now take your front and back outer pieces of the stocking and right sides facing, line them up and pin together all the way around. Beginning at the top corner, sew at 1/4 of an inch seam allowance and finish at the top corner. Now use your pinking shears to gently trim along the curves of the stocking to help it turn well. You can also use fabric scissors to carefully cut close to the stitches or make notches at the curves. Turn your stocking right side out and iron. Insert the stocking into the cuff with the open raw edges matching at the top. Pin the raw edges together and sew at 1/4 of an inch around the stocking. Now attach the loop by folding this in half and match to the raw edge of the raw edge left corner of the stocking. Stitch securely at 1/4 of an inch. Set the stocking aside for now. Take your 2 lining pieces and match them right sides together. At the notches on the pattern, it will show you where to. Starting at the top right corner, sew until the first notch. Lift the needle and continue sewing at the next pin around the stocking until you reach the top left corner. Leave this wrong side facing out for now. Take the outer stocking and insert it into the lining, right sides facing. The lining will be on the outside, wrong side facing out. Match the top opening raw edges and pin. Sew at 1/2 inch seam allowance around the stocking opening and trim the excess fabric. Turn the stocking right side out through the opening you left on the lining. Turn the lining right side out, and where the opening is, fold the edges in towards the wrong side and iron. Top stitch this closed. Insert the lining into the stocking and iron everything really well and make sure everything is looking good and how you want it to. If you want to add a name to your stocking, you can embroider the front cuff, you can add a name tag later. There's many different options. I hope you enjoyed making this family heirloom stocking that you can pull out year after year. If you want more Christmas inspiration and crafts, then click this next video.